Okay, it says I'm live. Okay, so I'm working on this. I'm working on this project, and so I thought I'd share what I'm doing because this is how I decorate my home. This is how I get the look I want for a lot less. I woke up with kind of a cold, so bear with my old man voice here. So first of all, this is what I bought. This is what at a thrift store, and it's like a, not ceramic, it's kind of like a pottery piece, but not the aesthetic I'm going for. But I love these. If you go to like potterybarn.com and just search like old pottery jugs or something like that, it'll come up, and they're beautiful. Like the found jugs that just are just so pretty. And so that's the look I'm going for. And so this is what I want it more to look like for our home, not this. So I find these at thrift stores all the time, and they come in different shapes, different sizes, different, but I really wanted to find one. Don't ask me why. I must have saw it somewhere. I can't tell you where, but I wanted to find one that had handles like this. I don't know. I wanted, and so I found this, I think it was last week, while I was thrifting. And so I should have brought my water down here, but I didn't. So anyway, so I wanted to give it a makeover. And so let's just go ahead. I thought I'd do this other side with you here so you can kind of see how to do this. So I think this piece was $2.88 at my local Goodwill. Perfect size, perfect shape, just not so pretty here for what I want for our home. So super easy project that anybody can do, and use stuff and paints and colors that you already have on hand. So, and this is kind of a step-by-step process. So I do have my little, what am I trying to say? Like blower here to make it hopefully go faster. But so I literally just went to, we have a bunch of these little paints. Everybody, you could get these. I think the cheapest place is like at Walmart. I think they're like 43 cents. And so I just went back there to see what we had. And this color is territorial beige. So just kind of like a lighter brown. That's what I started with as the base here. And so I just went, oh, it'd be nice if you could see what I was doing. That might be helpful. And so I just went over the whole thing with that color first. I do not have paint clothes on. I do have a story to share too that I'm not bitter about it, but I'm still not very happy about it. So I will share that here in a minute. But, okay, so I just wanted to, I'm just using Gabrielle's little paint brushes. I need a little more paint. Projects like this too, this does not take a lot of paint or product, or so that's, I mean, obviously if you had a huge, and there have been some huge, like pottery pieces like this that I've seen them at the thrift store, but they're so big that they wouldn't fit in our home. But it'd be really fun to do this on one of those pieces. Make sure you get in every kind of underneath the handle and everywhere. You want to make it look authentic. Like this was a found pottery piece somewhere out, I don't know where. Did I just get that? So the reason I'm not in paint clothes, should we have a little story here? I'm just covering this. Some of the, I'm just going to put one coat on it. That's what I did on the other side. So, because the layers will, okay, the layers will cover up the turquoise. And so depending on what color of that yours is, you know, if you found like a black one, that would be really cool. Because if you could have the black kind of come through, that would look really, really cool. So even get down in, and I have to do another layer of the top part down in here, but even get down inside here. So Matt works about, I don't know, 40 minutes from where we live. And so sometimes I like to go, there's cool shops around where he works. And so sometimes I like to go down just to kind of get out of my regular routine and just go to those shops. Can you guys see this with that sun? Okay, we're gonna go with it. That's my chair squeaking if you can hear it. Anyway, and so sometimes on his lunch break, he will go into a shop there. And yesterday, it's really, stuff like this really gets to me. Yesterday, he was there, and so he sent me a photo of a piece. Or was he on FaceTime? I can't remember, photo or FaceTime. Anyway, and he's like, you know, he's like, look at this. And so I was like, oh my gosh, that piece it was a furniture piece. It was so good. Anyway, so it was a little bit more than as soon as I saw it, I knew I wouldn't flip it. I knew I'd want to keep it. And so initially I'm like, okay, where am I going to put it? My initial thoughts are always, wait a minute, where's it going to fit? And what do I have to get rid of? Because I'm not going to just have piles of furniture on top of furniture. And so I figured that out. And then he's like, you know what? Can you guys still hear me over this? I'm just going to try and dry this. He said, it's not going to sell. It's not going to sell. So why don't you come see it in person tomorrow? And then you can decide. Because he's worried that I'm not going to really like it. And I'm like, take a picture. So I think we were FaceTime. And so I said, take a picture. And so as I'm looking at it, I'm like, Matt, was this an old piece? He's like, well, I don't know. And so as I'm kind of zooming in and seeing different things, I'm like, Matt, I think this is not really old, but not like what I said to him, is it like a remake, like if you go into a store and they make things to look old, or like they have pieces of furniture that are made to look old, if that makes sense, but they're not, they're not like the real wood. And do you guys know what I mean? And so I said, Matt, is it one of those? And he's like, no, it's more real wood. This kills me. And so then, the whole day I'm kind of thinking about it. And then yesterday our schedule was just, Gabrielle had an ortho appointment. Then she got an extra game for volleyball. And so we were it was a busy afternoon. And so the whole time I'm thinking, and he's like, well, one of the drawers was kind of split or broke. I don't know what he said. And I said, what do you mean? And so I'm zooming in. Anyway, long story short, so I'm like, last night I said, why don't you call them? Call them and tell them that you're going to buy it. I just can't stop thinking about it. I think, no, it's not going to sell. You guys know where this is going, right? It's not going to sell. You come tomorrow. We'll go out to lunch. We'll go, if you like it, then we'll buy it then. So I said, okay, what time is the store open? And he says 10 a.m. And I said, okay, I'll start heading down about 9:15. And so then he calls me and he's like, oh, they open at 9. We're 40 minutes away. And I said, oh, okay, well, it's 9, so I'll go ahead and start heading down. So he's like, let me just head over there. I said, can you just go over there really quick? It's near where he works. And just, pretty much just sit on it, because that's going to sell. So then I get about, I don't know, I'm not out of where we live yet, but getting towards, and I get a phone call from Matt. And he's like, you might want to turn around because it did sell. I was like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? So the moral of the story is, I won't even go into it because this just happened. So I'm a little bit, I'm still dealing with it. If you guys know, if you shop the way I do, when you find those pieces, it's like one of a kind, meaning you can't just go and get another one, right? So if you find something, don't second guess. Don't second guess. Buy it. It's kind of like when you're at a thrift store. I always say, put stuff in your cart until you're ready to check out, because if you don't, you'll walk around and somebody else will get that, put it in their cart, and then you'll be thinking about it for the next week, about this piece that you probably should have had. So then he's like, what, do you still want to come down and go to lunch? No, I'm going home because I have to work. So I'll talk to you when you get home. Oh my gosh. Okay, So after I did this lighter piece, this is the, like, you could do this with any colors you have or any colors that fit your home, obviously. But I just liked it like this as I got it done. It kind of looked like a terracotta color. And I thought maybe, this is a bright orange, but this is the only orange we had. I thought maybe if I wanted it kind of a terracotta, I could add some orange to that brown, but then I didn't go that route. So then what I did was I grabbed a darker brown color. And so anybody here, as I'm have any regrets, or do you have a piece that still haunts you? Because I have a feeling this piece might haunt Matt for a while. I'm laughing because I'm laughing, right? It's fine, but oh my gosh. I wish I'm on my phone here. I don't want to show you a picture because you're all going to be like, what? He didn't buy that? So then it's just going to make it worse. So anyway, with this brown, what I did was I just kind of, yeah, that is the right brown. I was thinking this doesn't look dark enough. Is I just kind of, I'm not covering the whole thing, right? So I'm just kind of adding another layer, because when you find like the authentic pottery that looks like this, it's not perfect. It's not a perfect color, or one solid color. It's, you know what I mean? It's kind of got layers and it's got kind of grime, and that sun is on there. Let me know if you guys can see me, if you're here. You know what I mean? It's just kind of got so much character, and so I'm just going to kind of touch it just a little bit with the brown. Nothing fancy. You don't have to be an artist to do this. That's it. So this is all I'm doing here. And then then you would let it sit, or use a hair dryer, or if you're a not so patient crafter or DIYer like me. So you just want this to be fully dry before you start the other. You could use, because I did use this color for like my top layer, but you could use, I mean, do you have wall paint, like furniture paint, whatever paint you have on hand. It is nice to have these little paints on hand because they're so inexpensive. Gabrielle can use them for stuff, but then when I have little projects like this, they're just easy to grab. Kind of get different colors that you would normally always use. And then like whites and blacks that you can mix in with other colors to get more custom colors. Okay, I'm gonna say that's dry enough. So now the next step is, I'm just I would usually rinse out these paint brushes, but since I'm not gonna run to the sink. So what I did here was, you're just gonna use, I have just these little trays. And this is just baking powder, or baking soda that I'm spilling all over the table here. So I just have that in here, and then in this little tray, I'm just gonna open this jar of paint. This is one of my, I love this color. It's called Sandbar. It's from Dixie Belle Paint. And I always use what's in the lid first. There's a lot of product always in the lids. Try to get around the edges so you're cleaning the lid before you put it back on. So I'm just gonna grab some of that and set it in this tray. And then I'm just using one of these brushes. I don't really want the dark on there yet, but let's see if I can get some of this off. But again, you can use any brush. This is just kind of these, what are these called? Stippling brushes, or they're just inexpensive. They're just kind of good to get that texture. And that's what I'm looking for here. I want it to look textured. Okay, you guys can see what I'm doing. So now what I'm gonna do, let me move that over, is I am going to dip my paintbrush in. Can you guys dip my paintbrush in the baking soda and then into the paint. And you could mix these and you just kind of play with it and just kind of get, I've shared this kind of process on another, on the pumpkins I did, it's kind of like that. And I just want to get texture in that paint. I don't want it to be all, so it's a lot of that sticking, all like smooth paint. And when I did the pumpkins, they're not, I thought, is this gonna just start crumbling and falling apart? Oh, I might have put too much in there, but we'll get the same. And they're not. It's not like that, the stuff on those pumpkins that I shared this with, they're not falling apart like in the hutch. And so this, I want to more kind of do like stippling-ish. I want to get, let me just show you. If you can see like up here, like I want that texture on there, right? Like maybe this has been sitting around outside and it's got some layers of mud on it. That's kind of what I'm looking for with this. And if you put too much powdered sugar, don't use powdered sugar, okay? I would use baking soda. Do not use, why did I say powdered sugar? I don't know. And here what I did is I need to get some more paint. I didn't cover it like perfectly because I do want some of those brown, I do want some of those brown colors to come through. I'm trying not to make a mess here, you guys. So you don't have to cover it fully. Let me just mix this up a little bit. And this is not like it's, you just mix and there we go. Popsicle sticks are your friend. And this is a layering, like you could, if you get your first layer on and you decide you want it more texture, then just do this over when it's dry. So these kinds of projects, they're gonna give you the exact look you want and they're not hard and you can't mess them up. My favorite kinds of projects. So those are my favorite kinds of projects. So I'm not trying to cover all this brown paint, because I want some of that to come through. And your goal with this is that you want some texture on this. And these kinds of brushes help just because they're messy and they're not going to give you like a smooth painted finish. So you definitely want that for sure. Make sure if you've got handles on your piece, your pottery or whatever, that you get up and underneath that. You could use a smaller brush just to get up underneath there. Because the raised pieces that you are, when I say raised, the textured pieces, once you do the final kind of look or that raised is going to help you get that, achieve that, if that makes sense, because you just want to lightly touch, if these are the colors you're doing, lightly touch those the texture with a darker paint to kind of highlight them. That sun wants to come in and make it so it's not easy to see. And I'm kind of going, so if you did one side, what you want to do here, can you guys see that? Is I'm going over what I've already done just because you want it to blend all together. So you don't have a stark line like, oh, she did that one first, that side first, and then the other side. So see, I kind of like this. Oh. It's hard to complain about the sunshine, you know what I mean? But so you see where this is not like fully covered right here. I like that. I like that the brown is kind of coming through. That's how it would normally look if it was authentic piece. And like I said, you could do this more like with grays and black would be really, really pretty. But so when I was I always like to look up pieces. So like if you wanted a piece like this, so Restoration Hardware, Pottery Barn, those kinds of places. And I know there's different sizes, obviously that would, Different sizes would be, are going to be more, but like some of them were $199. Like, no, don't spend that. I mean, spend that if you want to spend that, but me, I love it. I like the look of it. So let's try and figure out how, and go all the way down, like as far as you go down. Because if you're going to put something in here, you obviously don't have to go down in here. Nobody's going to see that, but like this edge, you definitely want to do the same thing too. I'm just going to use a little smaller brush just to get underneath the handles a little bit here. Just so they're covered. Okay, I used my brown brush too, so don't do that. Clean your brushes in between the colors. So here again, I want to kind of go over where, I mean, literally I have to keep moving because the sun is, hang on one second. We're just gonna move, keep moving all the way down here. Let's close the paint first. Close your paint first so you're not wearing it by the time you're done. Okay, there, that's a little better. So anyway, you want to go over what you've already done just because then it won't have that stark line. Okay, and so if you can see, so it's just got a lot of texture. And you want that. You want this. Let me see what this does. If I just touch it with the baking, because the paint is still wet. So if you want a little more texture, you can just touch the baking soda in, but make sure the paint is still wet on your piece, because then it will kind of stick, and blend it in, push it in. Don't just leave it on top, because then it's not going to stick. It does not want to cover in there for some reason. Okay, I'll get that piece later. Okay, so then when you're here, you would let it dry or use this. I think there are people here. Hello, hello, hello. So I'm just drying this to speed it up. Chip brush, yep, that's it. What did I call it? I can't remember what I called it. I'm still a little flustered about that piece. So you guys, this piece that I was driving down to get and was already sold, it was like in a pot, like it had little drawers all the way across. Like all it was a piece that Matt said it came up to like his waist, and he's 6'1", and it was pretty long, not huge, and not that deep. And it was all drawers, just little drawers. Oh my gosh, let's not talk about it. Because, oh my goodness. But he's like, oh no, it won't sell for anybody that's coming. That was my story. It's not going to sell. You come down tomorrow, make sure you like it, and then we'll go ahead and get it. It sold. Sold yesterday. So I'm happy for that person that got it. Okay, with the baking soda, it kind of dries the paint a little quicker just because it's more like a, but you do want to make sure this, you can't even see it, this is fully dry before you do each layer, especially this last layer, because you're going to want to chip brush. That's what it is. That's what it is. So for this last layer, you could use an antiquing glaze, you could use, or antiquing wax, you could use a glaze, like a dark glaze. But I just wanted to make it simple. You could use any black paint you had. I'm just using the black craft paint. That's all I used. Just because they're inexpensive. A lot of people just have those on hand. So what I did, we're going to call that dry. So what I did for the last layer, so it looks more like this, worn and kind of, is I just put some black, just craft paint, just black, this stuff, on a little tray here. And then I'm going to So you would want a clean brush. At this point, you would want a clean brush. I'm gonna try and get this as clean as I would normally go and wash this, and then what I did is then I added a little bit of water in here so it's thinner. It's not like really thick paint because you're going to dry brush this top, meaning you don't want to brush, and you don't really want to push it hard into your piece. So you're just trying to go just right on top. So the watering it down kind of makes it more like a stain-ish consistency, not paint. And then just on a paper towel or an old rag, kind of get some of that excess off. And we only want to, we're just putting it right on the top of that layer of kind of the texture, if that makes sense. And the good thing is it's watered down. So can we just do this so that I can, it's watered down. So if you got too much, if you got too much, you can move it around. And you can kind of use a rag or something to move it around. But again, you can't mess this up. You can't mess this. If you hated the color or the outcome, just redo the steps. And I'm noticing, so like this side is a lot darker in areas. So I need to go with a more heavy hand here on this side. There we go. But if you brush it too hard, you're gonna take the texture off. I should show you how I do this. My hands. You're gonna kind of beat the texture off. We're just kind of to the end of this. So when I say I add water to it, this is all I do. I just put a little bit of black paint and just use my spray bottle, and then kind of work around the edges where the water is. Less is more. Less is better at first, because then you can add layers. So you can't, I mean, you can move it around, but always go less first, and then you can get darker or add more paint as you go along. And they'll all look different depending on what look you want. But look for, when you're at your thrift stores, look for these pieces. They're not gonna look pretty there in the store. And you could even do this, even if it's not like a pottery piece. So like there, it got heavy, but they look like that though in some areas, so I kind of like that. So look for pieces. It doesn't have to be like perfect, like pottery, or you could do this on like ceramic pieces that, I mean, I wouldn't do it on a glass piece really. I just squirted this with water and then kind of blended that in a little bit. But yeah, so you just keep doing this until you get the look you want. And it came a long way from the thrift store for $2.88, and you saved yourself a lot of money, but you got the exact same look. So I'm gonna see if anybody has any questions. Okay, so anybody that has just joined. So in the beginning of this, I shared this piece that I got at a thrift store. It did not look like this. It was like a turquoise color, but I wanted it to look like that old world kind of like pottery. And I wanted to find a piece that had handles to do this on. And so I found one last week. I found this last week. I'm gonna have to work on that later. And so I wanted to just make it look more authentic and save a ton of money. So I just used different color craft paints, layered them on in different layers. And then I used baking soda and a lighter color paint. And then now I'm just using black craft paint with a little bit of water, just to water it down a little bit and to kind of give it another layer of depth and color, and kind of, you want it to look like it's a piece that you would have found, you know, like the old world. If you go to Pottery Barn, you'll get a better look at what I'm talking about. I know that they're on there. I'm sure Restoration Hardware has some too. go to Etsy, the actual real authentic ones. You would find some on there too. But so, and I just use little paint brushes throughout. This is I called it a stippling brush, but it's a chip brush. Just because it's kind of gives you, it's just kind of messy, and that's kind of what I want here. I don't want a perfect finish. I just kind of want it to, this dark color at the end. And you could do this in any color. I mean, maybe you want blacks and grays, and you can see right here, around here, I'm gonna have to do this yet. So I will touch up these little areas with a smaller brush, just because you want it to all look uniform-ish in that it's all kind of got the same look. But anyway, you could do this in like blacks and grays a little bit more instead of the browns and the dark color. But yeah, simple, 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 inexpensive. It's 1 a.m. in Australia. Oh my goodness. Hello in Australia, 1 a.m. I don't know how you do it. Let me see if there's any other questions. Did you guys, I thought I'd show, I love magazines, especially when I'm not feeling inspired. Magazines are just a great place to get inspired. Sarita, is that, yeah, did I answer your question? Is that, I don't know if you were asking about the brush or hello in California. Let me know if I answered your question. Okay, is this a project? Thank you. Is this a project you guys would try? Will you have printed instructions, please? I wasn't planning on having, but if you watch this back, I think you'd be able to see what I did. What would we do without our spray bottles? These continuous spray bottles for so many projects. I love them. Painting furniture and all of that. Okay. Yes, we'll try. Okay. I always want to know, like, is this a project after you see it done, or would it make you go into a thrift store and maybe want to shop a thrift store and find these things? Would it make you want to, maybe you've got something like this in your home you don't love anymore. Would it make you want to just like update it or give it a makeover so it kind of fits your style now? Or, if these videos are helpful, please sprinkle, people say you have to say sprinkle instead of share. Please, I would appreciate that because it just helps me. Yes, we'll try. What color brown did you start with? Okay. So the first one, literally, this is just what we had on hand. Let me show you. So like sorry about the paint all over my hands. Like just a lighter brown, but this is the exact color. It's called Territorial Beige, this one is, but just like a tan khaki color. And then the dark brown I use, this one's called Nutmeg Brown, but just a darker brown. And then this black that I use, it's just a regular black. And then the lighter pink color, it's one of my favorite colors from Dixie Belle, but it kind of gives you a look to see what color. You could definitely find something similar in one of these. So you could use all craft paints in that. Yes, absolutely going to try this. Thank you. Yes. Okay, good. That's on my way to Goodwill. I wish I was. So easy, right? Oh, and then all you need is baking soda to get the texture. So like really easy. Get creative with it. Change up the colors. Do what fits your style in your home. Would like to try. Elizabeth, that's a good question. If you found a smooth pot, would you add some texture first and then paint the layers? Elizabeth, this was fully smooth when I started. So I basically wanted to get the base colors, a color that I would want first, because I knew I wasn't gonna, I knew I wasn't gonna cover this completely with the texture and the different colors. So I definitely did not want any of that turquoise popping through at all. I did not want that to come through. If that's a color that goes in your home, use that. But this was completely smooth, so it wasn't even like a textured piece at all. So I wanted to get a base color on there first that I would have been fine with it popping out. Does that make sense? So I understand what you're saying about the texture, but you don't have to do that. You could put your base layer on. This was completely smooth when I started. Thank you, Carla. No, it doesn't. So Nancy just asked, does the soda fall off? So I did something similar to this on some pumpkins. I can't remember if I was live here or live on Instagram. Either way, I would have shared it here as well. But I wondered about that. So I put them in our hutch upstairs and it has not fallen off. Make sure though that the baking soda is in wet paint, if that makes sense, because then it will, it'll stick better, if that makes sense. No, it wasn't textured at all. I know I think it was made to look that way. So it was not textured at all. So this one was a smooth one. So I shared this yesterday, but if you guys see this magazine out and about, you may, there's a project. If you guys remember this last year, I did share this live. Do you guys remember when I made this burnt Christmas tree garland? It's inside the Better Homes and Gardens Holiday Crafts magazine this year. So grab this. There's a lot of good projects in here. Anyway, I do love magazines just to get, and there's some fall projects up front, and then it goes into Christmas projects. So this is a good one. It's crazy to see holiday magazines out already. I mean, I'm not complaining about it, but here we are. Okay, I just want to make sure I get through all the questions. I hit something and it keeps putting that. Okay, share this video if you like it. If these projects, it's so simple to do. It's just, I wanted to find certain pieces to do this on, and it's taken me a while to find them, but, or it'd be cool to find, the jugs that just have one, it's like an actual jug. That would be really cool to do it on too. I'm just thinking, I think I just saw one the other day and I didn't pick it up to do this on. So I need to be more on the lookout, but this will fit better in our home. So I'm just going to I'll finish this and then yeah, I will try to get through that piece that should have been mine. Matt, you should have just bought it, but okay, if you have any questions, if you're watching this on replay, let me know. Just put #replay. If you have any questions after watching this, let me know. I will come in and answer them. You cannot mess this up. This is an easy project. Anybody can do it. Try it on something you have in your home that maybe you're not loving first, and then you'll just see, it's just kind of fun. You just kind of keep working with it until you get a look that you like. So yeah, or head to your thrift stores. I would love to see that too. So, okay, have a good rest of your day. Is it even afternoon yet? I don't even know. And I will check back in with you guys later.